Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going deep on the Hispanic market in the auto industry.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, it's a fascinating one for sure. I've been digging through all sorts of research reports, market analyses, you name it.
So what's the mission for today's deep dive?
Well, we're going to uncover some surprising purchasing trends and really just get a better sense of what makes this market tick.
Sounds good. I'm ready to dive in.
All right, so first things first. The Hispanic population in the U.S. is currently at 19%,
Yeah, I've heard that.
but it's projected to reach almost 29% by 2060.
Wow, that's a huge jump.
It is practically a third of the entire U.S. population.
That's a game changer for sure.
Absolutely. And with that growth comes some serious purchasing power. We're talking $1.7 trillion in 2020 alone.
You know, I always see that number, but it's hard to even grasp how big that really is.
It's massive. It's bigger than the entire GDP of a lot of countries.
Yeah, that puts it in perspective.
But here's what I find really interesting. It's not just about the sheer size of the market. It's the diversity within it.
Right, we can't just treat this like one big homogenous group.
Exactly. Our sources really emphasize that point.
And they're right. We're talking about diverse cultural backgrounds, different values, and even varying levels of language preference.
For sure. For example, while Spanish language marketing is definitely important.
Yeah, you can't just assume everyone prefers that.
Right. Its effectiveness can really vary a lot depending on the region and the specific cultural group you're targeting.
It's like assuming every European country is the same just because they're all in Europe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do automakers even begin to navigate this kind of complexity?
Well, that's where it gets interesting. You have to understand the nuances.
Okay, so give me an example.
Well, there are some major generational differences within the Hispanic market.
Ah, that makes sense.
For instance, a large percentage of millennials identify as Hispanic.
And they probably have different expectations than older generations.
You got it. They definitely have different preferences compared to their parents or grandparents.
So auto brands can't just rely on the same old playbook.
Nope. They need to adapt their strategies to resonate with these different segments.
Makes sense. So speaking of strategies, what's the overall impact of this market on the auto industry?
Like, are we just talking about a small bump in sales? Or is something bigger happening?
Yeah, is it really moving the needle?
Well, here's where the numbers get really impressive. Hispanics already account for a whopping 26% of all vehicle sales in the U.S.
26%. That's already a big chunk.
It is, but here's the even more telling stat. They represent 68% of vehicle growth.
Whoa, hold on. 68%.
You heard that right.
So they're not just buying cars, they're driving the future of the whole industry.
Exactly. They're a major force.
Huge shift in the balance of power.
No doubt about it. And this isn't just speculation. This is based on hard data.
So it's not just anecdotal.
Not at all. Another interesting detail that came up in our research is that Hispanics return to buy new vehicles 5 months sooner than the general population.
5 months sooner. That's a big difference.
It is. What does that tell us?
But it sounds like they're engaged with the market.
For sure. They're not afraid to upgrade.
And maybe they're even setting trends for other buyers.
It's very possible.
So this isn't just a market that's growing. It's evolving quickly, too.
And evolving in ways that are really shaping the industry.
It seems like automakers who want to stay ahead of the curve need to understand what's driving these trends.
Absolutely. They need to pay attention.
For example, I was surprised to learn that Hispanics are 25% more likely to buy a luxury vehicle as their first new car compared to the general market.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it really goes against some assumptions about affordability being the primary factor.
It does. It suggests there's a strong aspirational element at play.
A desire for status, maybe?
That could be part of it. A desire for achievement that's reflected in their car choices.
So it's not just about selling a car. It's about selling a lifestyle, an image, an aspiration.
Right, and it sounds like automakers who want to succeed need to be able to tap into that.
Definitely. They need to go beyond just the nuts and bolts.
Yeah, and they need to understand the cultural nuances, the values, the aspirations that resonate within the Hispanic market.
It sounds like a complex puzzle, but a rewarding one to solve.
It is. It's a challenge, but the rewards are huge for those who can crack the code.
All right, so we've laid the groundwork, we've seen the numbers.
Yeah, we've got a good sense of the market.
But now let's dig into some of those specifics.
Okay, let's get into the details.
Let's talk about the do's and don'ts of marketing to this dynamic market.
What are the pitfalls brands should avoid?
And what strategies really hit the mark?
I'm ready to talk shop.
Let's do it. It seems like the auto industry is facing a real challenge here, understanding a market that's not only large, but also incredibly diverse.
Yeah, it's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
So what are some of the pitfalls that brands should avoid when trying to connect with Hispanic consumers?
Well, one of the biggest mistakes is treating the entire Hispanic market as a monolith.
like a catch-all term.
Exactly. You can't just translate an English ad into Spanish and expect it to resonate with everyone.
Yeah, that's like assuming a marketing campaign that works in Spain will automatically be successful in Mexico or Argentina.
Right. Each country has its own culture, its own nuances.
So language is just one piece of the puzzle.
It is. What are some other factors that brands need to consider?
Okay, good question.
Well, family is a central value in Hispanic culture.
I can see that being a big one.
Our sources emphasize that marketing campaigns that focus on a vehicle's safety features and spaciousness for family trips tend to perform much better than those that solely emphasize speed and performance.
So instead of trying to sell a cool car, you're selling a car that can safely and comfortably transport the entire familia.
Exactly. It's about tapping into those deep-seated emotional connections.
It's a much more relatable message.
Right. Another key factor is authenticity.
Hispanics can probably spot a fake from a mile away.
They can. They're quick to spot marketing that feels forced or relies on stereotypes.
They want to see themselves and their values reflected in the brands they support.
Absolutely. Speaking of authenticity, this reminds me of something I read in our research about Subaru.
What is that?
They've had a lot of success with campaigns targeting the LGBT plus community within the Hispanic market.
Interesting. Tell me more.
Specifically, their Love is Love campaign, which featured real-life LGBT plus couples and families, was a huge hit.
It wasn't just about checking off a diversity box.
No, it was about genuine representation and inclusivity.
That's really cool. I like that.
Subaru's approach is a great example of how to get it right. They're not just talking to the Hispanic market, they're talking to specific segments within that market and tailoring their messages accordingly.
That level of personalization seems crucial, especially in today's digital landscape.
Yeah, especially with how targeted things can get.
Our sources highlight that a staggering 85% of U.S. Hispanics engage on social media.
Wow, 85%. That's huge.
It is. It makes it a prime platform for reaching this audience.
No doubt, social media offers a unique opportunity for auto brands to connect with Hispanic consumers on a more personal level.
But again, it's not just about having a presence on these platforms. It's about creating content that resonates.
Exactly. What kind of content are we talking about?
Well, instead of just pushing out generic product ads, brands should be creating content that reflects Hispanic values and interests.
Can you give me some examples?
Sure. Think about user-generated content influencer marketing campaigns that encourage interaction and sharing.
Ah, I see. So it's about making it more engaging.
Exactly. Authenticity is key here.
User-generated content always feels more genuine and relatable than a polished corporate ad.
It does. And it allows consumers to become part of the brand's story rather than just passive observers.
It's about building a community, not just selling a product.
Right. And don't underestimate the power of reflecting community values.
Like what kinds of values?
Highlighting a brand's commitment to social causes that are important to the Hispanic community can build trust and loyalty.
Okay, I get it. So, for example,
Supporting educational initiatives or promoting environmental sustainability can resonate deeply with this audience.
so it's about showing that you care about the things they care about.
Exactly. It's not just about selling cars, it's about aligning your brand with the values and aspirations of your target market.
Now, with all this talk about digital marketing, does that mean traditional media is dead?
Are TV and radio still relevant?
Good question. While digital is definitely dominant, traditional media still has its place, especially when targeting older demographics within the Hispanic market.
Makes sense, not everyone has gone completely digital.
For many families, watching TV together is still a cherished ritual.
And radio is great for reaching commuters and those who prefer audio content.
So it's not about choosing one over the other, it's about finding the right balance and tailoring the message to the platform.
And I bet some of the most successful campaigns are those that seamlessly blend online and offline strategies.
You're absolutely right. Imagine a TV ad that drives viewers to a social media contest.
Or a radio spot that promotes a local community event sponsored by the brand.
Exactly. It's about creating a multifaceted approach that reaches consumers wherever they are, both physically and digitally.
Now let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the car buying journey itself.
Okay, let's get into that.
How are Hispanics researching vehicles? What are their priorities? What are their pain points?
Well, our research suggests that Hispanics are more likely to rely on word-of-mouth recommendations from friends and family when making a car buying decision.
That makes a lot of sense. Trust is a big factor.
It is. They also tend to visit multiple dealerships before making a purchase.
So they're not just impulsively buying the first car they see.
No, they're doing their research and carefully considering their options.
So building trust and establishing a positive reputation within the community is essential.
Absolutely. If a friend or family member recommends a particular car or dealership, that carries a lot of weight.
And it reinforces the importance of providing excellent customer service.
Hispanics place a high value on the overall buying experience.
They want to feel welcomed, respected, and understood throughout the process.
Exactly. So having bilingual staff offering culturally sensitive service and creating a welcoming atmosphere in the dealership are all crucial.
It's about going beyond the transaction and building a relationship.
Right. And it's about understanding the nuances of the Hispanic car buyer's journey.
Okay, give me an example.
For example, did you know that Hispanics are more likely to finance their vehicles and are particularly interested in warranties and service plans?
It's interesting. It suggests that they're looking for security and peace of mind when making such a significant purchase.
They want to know that they're covered if something goes wrong.
Exactly. And it highlights an opportunity for automakers to tailor their financing options and service packages to meet the specific needs of this market.
It's about anticipating their concerns and providing solutions that alleviate their anxieties.
It seems like there's a real opportunity here for brands to differentiate themselves by catering to these specific needs and concerns.
There is. It's not just about selling the car. It's about selling the entire ownership experience.
So we've talked about the importance of cultural sensitivity, the power of digital marketing, the significance of word-of-mouth recommendations, and the need for a seamless customer experience.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have. But let's not forget that we're talking about the auto industry, which is constantly evolving.
True, it's a fast-paced industry.
What are some of the specific trends or challenges that are unique to this sector when it comes to engaging the Hispanic market?
Well, one of the biggest challenges, as we touched upon earlier, is the increasing segmentation within the Hispanic market.
Right. It's not just one big group.
Gen Z and millennials, for example, have different expectations and preferences than older generations.
Makes sense. They grew up in a different world.
They're more digitally native, more demanding of authenticity and representation, and more likely to conduct extensive research online before setting foot in a dealership.
So auto brands need to go beyond simply saying, we're targeting the Hispanic market.
Yeah, they need to be more specific.
They need to dig deeper, understand the nuances of each generation, and tailor their messages accordingly.
Exactly. And this brings us to another critical point.
What's that?
The importance of understanding the evolving technological landscape.
Technology is changing everything.
It is. The rise of electric vehicles, self-driving cars, and connected car technologies is transforming the industry.
And are Hispanic consumers keeping up with these changes?
Hispanic consumers are at the forefront of this change.
Interesting. So they're not just passive observers. They're active participants in this technological evolution.
Exactly. They're early adopters of new technologies, and they're eager to embrace innovation.
So auto brands need to showcase their technological prowess.
They need to show that they're on the cutting edge.
And demonstrate how their vehicles are meeting the needs of this tech-savvy audience.
It's not just about the technology itself. It's about how that technology integrates with their lives.
Okay, so how does that integration play out specifically?
Well, for example, Hispanics are heavy users of mobile devices.
So smartphones are a big part of their life.
They are. So offering seamless connectivity between their phones and their vehicles is crucial.
It's about creating a connected ecosystem that enhances their driving experience and makes their lives easier.
Exactly. It's all about convenience and integration.
Now, before we move on to our final segment, I want to touch on one more aspect that I found particularly insightful.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Our research highlighted the impact of external events, particularly the COVID-19 pandemic, on the Hispanic market.
The pandemic. That was a tough time for everyone.
It was. It seems like this event really underscored the importance of trust and brand loyalty within this community.
That's a crucial observation. And it ties directly into the themes of sensitivity, authenticity, and community that we've been discussing throughout this deep dive.
So let's shift gears for a moment and delve into how the pandemic has reshaped the auto industry's approach to the Hispanic market. I think there's some valuable lessons to be learned here about building lasting relationships with consumers.
I agree. Let's explore that.
The pandemic really threw the world a curveball, and the auto industry definitely had to adjust, especially when it came to engaging with the Hispanic market. What did this period reveal about what matters most to these consumers?
Well, it really highlighted the importance of community and connection for them. Our sources emphasize that brands that acknowledge the unique challenges they faced and offer genuine support were able to build those strong bonds of trust and loyalty.
That makes sense. It wasn't just about selling cars at that point. It was about showing empathy and understanding. Did any of our research provide any specific examples of how automakers stepped up?
Absolutely. Some offered payment assistance programs for those who were struggling financially due to the pandemic.
It makes sense a lot of people were out of work.
Right. Others donated to community organizations, providing essential services to those hit hardest by the crisis.
So they were really putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah, these actions spoke volumes about their commitment to the community.
It wasn't just about marketing. It was about showing up and making a real difference.
Exactly. Authenticity played a major role here. Consumers, especially Hispanic consumers, can sense when a brand is being genuine versus when they're just trying to capitalize on a situation.
Right. Actions speak louder than words, especially during a crisis.
You said it. The pandemic really served as a reminder that businesses aren't just economic entities, they're part of the fabric of our communities.
And consumers, especially Hispanic consumers, reward brands that reflect their values and contribute to their well-being.
They want to feel like the brands they support are aligned with their own values.
It's about building relationships, not just transactions.
Right. And those relationships are built on trust, empathy, a shared sense of purpose.
The pandemic was a difficult time for everyone.
It really was. But it also revealed the importance of those human connections.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the key takeaways our listeners should remember about the Hispanic market and the auto industry?
Well, the Hispanic market is not just a niche segment. It's a driving force in the auto industry.
And it's only going to become more influential.
Their influence and purchasing power are only going to grow in the coming years. Automakers need to move beyond simply acknowledging this market.
They need to develop strategies that genuinely resonate with Hispanic consumers.
And that requires understanding their cultural values, preferences, and their digital savvy.
It's about recognizing the diversity within this market, avoiding stereotypes, and creating campaigns that feel authentic and relatable.
Right. Meeting them where they are online and offline and speaking to their hearts, not just their wallets.
And creating a seamless, positive customer experience.
Absolutely. Demonstrating a genuine commitment to the community.
And constantly evolving to meet their changing needs and expectations.
Well said.
Now, before we sign off, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought-provoking question. Given everything we've learned about the Hispanic market, their affinity for technology, their evolving preferences, their desire for authenticity, what innovative approaches can auto brands take to authentically connect with the diverse segments within this market as technology and consumer behavior continue to evolve?
That's a fantastic question. It's something that automakers should constantly be asking themselves. How can we use technology to create more personalized experiences?
How can we leverage data to better understand their needs and preferences?
How can we ensure that our messaging reflects the richness and complexity of Hispanic culture?
The insights we've shared today are just the tip of the iceberg. This is a market that's constantly in motion, full of possibilities and challenges. But one thing is clear.
What's that?
The future of the auto industry will be shaped in no small part by the Hispanic consumer.
So stay curious, keep exploring, and never underestimate the power of genuine connection.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey into the heart of the Hispanic market and the auto industry. Until next time, keep diving deep.